I'm talking to Willy Smets, Regional IT Leader for Cummins, Europe and Africa. Willy, talk to me about services centralization at Cummins. You've implemented data centers recently. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, we have worldwide 4 data centers now in Franklin, Columbus, Singapore and Birmingham, actually Redditch, where we have consolidated all of our environments into those 4 data centers. The purpose is to have also continuity built in, we'll talk a bit about that later, between those different data centers and to provide a better service to our customers. Our data centers are really what they call M+1 data centers, highly protected, double environments, air conditioning, power and so on, and very secured. We didn't have that before. Cummins had a lot of distributed data closets, which was very expensive for the customer, for Cummins, and difficult to maintain.
Willy, talk to me about cost reduction.
Well, I think that's an ongoing effort, cost reduction. I don't think you ever achieve complete zero objective. So every year there's a cost objective or a cost reduction objective, I'm sorry. The trend is that the objectives are much more difficult to achieve than reality. That's normal. You put the limits very high, or the objective very high, in order to achieve as much as possible. So that's a normal behavior of a company to do that. I think we achieve probably 75 to 80% of all the cost objectives, cost objective targets every year. So I don't think that's too bad actually. Is it realistic? Yeah, I think so. But it's always a difficult thing to do.
Willy, that brings me on to business continuity. Tell me a little bit about Cummins' approach to business continuity.
Business continuity is becoming more and more important for companies. Talking about implementation of Sarbanes-Oxley, business continuity is not immediately a part of that, but if you take a closer look, you really need to have it in order to be in compliance. Business continuity has several levels of let me say, continuity levels. The more continuity you want to have, the more expensive it becomes. There's really a one-to-one relationship on that. It's up to the company to make a decision on how much you want to have as a business continuity and how much do you want to invest. It is very hard because the most ultimate business continuity is that whenever your data center would go down, that you would have immediately everything available the next day or the next hour. That doesn't exist. I mean, in theory, that's all nice. In reality, that's really hard to do. The costs that you would have to make, the investments you have to make in order to achieve that are so huge, you cannot bear it as a company. So you have to find a compromise in between how much can I do for the budgets that are available. That's where the big challenge is. And that's for every company the same way.
Willy, how about the complexities of operating in Europe?
Working in Europe is providing a lot of challenges. There's legislation, financial rules, tax issues, you name it, language barriers, culture, diversity. There are so many things that you need to take into account in order to provide a good shared service in Europe. In my opinion, it's one of the most complex regions because of the differences in all of these items in a very small region actually. And if you include Africa, for example, from a political point of view, even Europe, it becomes even harder. I think the most difficult is really language barriers. When you talk about shared services, people talk easily certainly about IT, offshoring in India and so on. Well, the biggest problem is I don't have anybody in India speaking any Russian or Polish, whatever. So it's easy to offshore to India from an IT point of view, from an infrastructure point of view, but really from a human point of view, a resource and help desk point of view, language is a barrier. And some companies already have seen that before and got back out of that. So those are extremely difficult to do, and there's a lot of challenges out there in Europe.
Talk to me about some of the countries that are slightly more difficult to support.
Yeah, because we even have sometimes travel restrictions in some of these countries. We have got travel restrictions in Turkey and Russia. How do you need to deliver your SLA if you get even travel restrictions? So those are the difficult questions. What we've taken a look at, for example, is resource on demand, where we've been working with with several companies, or we did an RFP on the market to see if there was a company out there that could provide us a service at a certain location within a certain SLA, and at what cost. We have identified one company that was willing to do it, and we have that now in place. So we can send, if we need to, we can send an engineer to a certain site to help us out in doing a certain activity. We got different services, so Windows, Unix, local area network, telecoms. We have to identify what it is, and we can send somebody out there to do that. Does it work 100%? No, it's not. But we're starting with that. We're doing it now for about 1 year. It's working pretty well. We have to continuously improve that, but that's the challenge to do that, right? So those are the kind of things you need to start thinking out of the box. How will I deliver a service in a country like that with all these limitations?
Willy, what's next for IT shared services in Cummins?
The next level is, well, I heard a very good terminology being used, which was called the next generation. And I thought it was actually very good. I think we need to start thinking about how we can add value to what we do today. Initially, we don't need to go around on that one. I mean, initially it was all about cost savings. It was driven by cost. Today we need to take a look in how we can improve quality, how we can provide additional benefit to the business in order to get more revenue, more margin, better margins. And I think that's where our challenges will be coming forward. Not only for IT, finance and HR, in the end in every department actually.
Give me a specific example of how you do that.
Well, give you an example. We have reduced software licenses. Software licenses is a big issue for a lot of multinationals. You know, if you would ask for an honest answer on any multinational, everybody would say we've got a problem with license maintenance. We've taken a look at our software, the softwares that we're running out there, and actually reduced the numbers of licenses we can use just by taking a look at if Mr. X has software ABC on his desktop, how much of that is he really using? Well, if he's not been using it for 3 months, he doesn't need it. So we've taken it off his computer. We saved the license. We've done tremendous savings by doing that. That's just an example. Storage. Storage is a big issue. People think that storage is free of charge. You can go out and buy a hard disk for, with 5 terabytes for £100. Why do I need to be charged, $9 per gigabyte per month? Well, there are certain reasons for that. It's not only about the storage. There's RAID configurations, there's backups, there's maintenance, there's software licensing you need to buy. There's a whole lot of these things. We have driven a customer behavior by telling them, this is what you use, this is what your cost is. Now we need to drive that down. So you drive behavior, you start archiving, move data to more or cheaper storage solutions. And that's how we drive behavior of our customers. Finally, also reducing the cost of Cummins, which is really an added value that we've given to the company.